Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Up With That, the show that brings you interesting people, places, cultures, and subcultures here in the South Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area, the state of California, and beyond. And tonight, what's up with AIDS LifeCycle? What is AIDS LifeCycle? And why is it important that we all get involved with AIDS LifeCycle? Well, let me tell you something. When I first heard about this, I was thinking, let me see. Okay, so you're saying you want us to ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles in 7 days. You know what? Wouldn't it be a lot easier if you just wrote a check? Well, then I started to think there must be something really special about this. And as I looked at some footage of it, I saw there was a real bonding. Tonight we have 3 people from AIDS LifeCycle, who are going to tell us about this particular special bonding, about this journey, which is extremely long and hard, but there's a heart to it. That's the thing. I can tell. I can feel it. Welcome to What's Up With That. Susan Parrish, she is the Associate Director of AIDS LifeCycle. Hey, what's up with that? We have Dave Ellison. He is the Media Relations Manager for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. What's up?
Thanks for having us.
And we have Gabriel Rocha. He is the Training Ride Leader for AIDS LifeCycle.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
I'm fine. How you doing? What's up? Okay, well, let's start at the beginning. What is the history of AIDS LifeCycle?
Well, AIDS LifeCycle, as you mentioned, is a bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and it's produced by and benefiting the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. So the purpose of the event is to raise money for our services and also to raise awareness that AIDS is still an issue, and we want people to donate.
You know, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because it does seem like the media has not, AIDS is sort of like slipped under the media's eye.
Infections are on the rise. There are more people living with HIV than ever before, so greater need for services.
I mean, and if you would follow the media, you would think that's just the opposite.
Right.
Makes me so mad, okay? I just want to let you know that. So how did you all get interested in this, and what's your interest in this? What got you to do this thing?
Well, I got interested in it actually because of the challenge. So the idea of actually riding my bike for 7 days and raising $2,500, both of which sounded extremely frightening to me.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, that's what drew me in, and that's why I participated the first time. And it is an incredible, life-changing experience. It certainly brought the issue much closer to home for me.
Right.
And I've been on the ride every year since then, since 1998. So.
How about you?
I've been a teacher like you for about 25 years, but I was just going through some really hard times with my career, with No Child Left Behind and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, wonderful.
And a friend of mine just invited me for dinner, and I saw a picture of him having done the ride, and I made the mistake of saying, you know, someday, maybe, perhaps, I might consider doing that. And he just turned to me deadpan and said, well, I'm a training ride leader. And I thought, oh, why didn't I keep my mouth shut?
Yeah.
He said exactly what I needed to hear at the time, because I was losing my faith in my colleagues and the state of affairs. He said, Dave, for one solid week, you're surrounded by thousands of people, all of whom are dedicated to something greater than themselves. And I just said,
that's it. Yeah.
I need that for me.
Right.
Sign me up. And all of us have different reasons for why we came, but it's like what Susan said. There's this magic that happens on the ride. And so I didn't sign up because I had this great passion for HIV or AIDS. But after a week of it, after a week of meeting people who were living with the disease, and after studying it, suddenly it became very important to me indeed. And here I am.
Yeah.
You know, I work for the company.
Right. And there's so many things in our society that pull people apart, you know.
Right.
When you think about it, it's like it's a struggle. It's a struggle nowadays to bring people together. Yeah. But if you can bring them together for something that really binds them for life, you know, it's great. And Gabriel, you are a trainer. And
I'm a trainer, but what it brings me really to LifeCycle is because, first of all, I want to say that I'm a long-term survivor. I'm a person who's living with AIDS. And when I first heard about AIDS LifeCycle and the foundation, it was 8 years ago when I was in a bed hospital in San Francisco. And it was there that I learned that there was this organization called San Francisco AIDS Foundation, who were providing services with people like me who were battling AIDS and HIV. And it was also there when I got in touch with a group of people, support groups, and later on, one of my best friends, that same year that I was very sick in the hospital, he was doing the AIDS ride, the AIDS life cycle now, as we know it. And he inspired me in such a great deal, because at the end of each day of the ride, he was calling me at my hospital, in my bed hospital, and saying, you know, I'm doing this for you. So eventually there was a time for me that I really wanted to give back for so many things that I have received from the foundation and from the AIDS Life Cycle. So that's how I got involved when I was obviously in good health, right, from, you know, organizations like that that do so much great deal to get people back into their on their feet. So that's how I get involved. I know I'm it has been my 5th year. It's going to be my 5th season doing the ride.
It's incredible.
I'm participating as a training ride leader as well. So
Well,
I'm
good
so
for you.
proud and happy to be here.
And it's probably done wonders for your health, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what kind of people sign up for this event? I mean, is there
all kinds of people. Our youngest rider last year was 18 years old. Our oldest rider was 78 years old. And the 78-year-old was a multi-year rider. We have people of all different backgrounds. We have, you know, the people that are athletic. We have the people that have either never been on their bike or haven't been on their bike in 20 years.
Yeah, so
It's just, if you have a desire to do it and you have a desire to make a difference, it's a very welcoming community, and we have a great training program. We'll get you there. So.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a great mission. We're going to look at some footage from the AIDS Life Cycle, and I think you'll see what they're saying about this great event and why you should get involved in it. So check it out. This is some footage from the AIDS Life Cycle.
The riderless cycle represents the thousands of individual stories, hopes, dreams, and journeys of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, so that we never forget heroes live forever.
There's a time for us to let go. There's a time for holding on. A time to speak, a time to listen. There's a time for us to grow. There's a time for laying the road down. There's a time for getting high. Time for peace, a time for
here to begin the experience of a lifetime.
time to live, time to die.
That we will live to see the day when thousands of people don't have to get on their bicycles and ride to Los Angeles to raise money for this insidious disease.
There is a time for mixed believing. There's a time to understand. A time for hurt, a time for healing. A time to run, to make a stand.
All right, now you have to admit that was absolutely awesome. And so you better get off your duff and get involved. Change doesn't come unless we decide to make change, okay? So listen to these people. And we're going to talk a little bit about this great event, this long event. I keep saying that because I'm one of those lazy people who's sitting here on my duff saying, oh my God, how can this happen? But anyways, it does. So we're going to start off with preparing for this. How do you prepare yourself all these other people for this event?
On a little bike seat. You take it gradually. You know, everybody starts their training at a level that they're comfortable with. So, you know, if you're comfortable doing a 10-mile ride, great. If you're comfortable doing a 40-mile ride, you know, that's great too. And you just gradually build up your mileage. So, you know, it takes several months. It takes lots of weekends, setting the alarm, getting up at 7 a.m. to go out on these training rides. Gabriel is one of our training ride leaders. We have a great group of volunteers that lead training rides all over the Bay Area.
Wow.
Yeah, and I want to say something, you know, is talking about the training ride leaders, I have to say that is beyond the Bay Area. We have people who are across the nation, and we have we even have people who come from abroad, from other countries to do this ride. And we have a calendar where people come, and depending on the level of experience, they can join these rides, and we have categories for these rides, so they can join something that is particularly fitted for them. And we start with very small rides, and then we start to increasing. So at the end of our training season, these people are ready to go through a challenge of riding 545 miles all the way down to LA.
Another thing that's hard when people sign up, because each cyclist is required to raise $2,500. And for many people that is an intimidating figure. But every single cyclist, when they sign up, they're assigned to a cycle buddy. And when I signed up, Susan was my cycle buddy. And then I started with the foundation as a cycle buddy myself. And so my job was to shepherd people from the moment when they signed up to get them to day one, not only in their training, but also their fundraising. And they're never alone. And even though at first most people say, I'll never make $2,500, most people raise closer to $4,000. Because once you start asking your friends and your colleagues, we always say, ask the people that that probably least expect to be asked, and they're flattered. And that really is at bottom. You said before, I mean, isn't this a crazy way to raise $11 million? And we often say there are a lot easier ways to raise money. But the first thing is, but for example, when I was a cyclist, I had 65 people that were supporting me on that ride, and every single one looked at my website, read the stats about HIV and AIDS, and went, oh, I forgot, or oh, I didn't realize. And then the fact that I myself had made such a huge commitment itself sent a message of, this must be very important. So you figure we've got 2,500 cyclists, each supported by 60 or more people cheering them on. And then as the ride goes down the coast to, you know, from San Francisco to Los Angeles, the media cover us everywhere we go. And so it's a once-a-year reminder that HIV and AIDS is still with us. And it still requires our attention. It's still very important.
We get people cheering us on all the way down. You know, people come out, you'll be riding down some road in this rural farm area, not a house to be seen for miles, and there's somebody out there clapping and cheering you on. And
That's
you know,
great. To be able to say, okay, I'm going to ride I keep stressing this, 500 miles in 7 days, you know, it's like, wow, this is something really big. This is something that means a lot. And then to add on to that, that there's 2,500 cyclists, that's a big mass of people.
And 500 roadies, the volunteers that make it all happen.
We're talking like this big thing.
It's a mobile community.
Yeah, and keeping track of all these sorts of things. So how do you keep track of 2,500 bikers?
Well, it's a very
bicyclists, shall I say?
a very well organized event. As Dave mentioned, the 500 volunteer roadies. We have people out on the route driving sweep vehicles to make sure nobody gets left behind. We have rest stops every 15 to 20 miles. We have a medical team that travels with us. We have a bike tech team in case you have issues like that. All the meals are provided. We camp together. We have shower tracks. It really is. It's a mobile community that travels all those 7 days together.
And everyone takes care of each other on the ride. It becomes annoying if you stop to fix a flat, because it always takes two. You have to have someone to stand by you with his or her thumb up, saying, don't offer help, we're okay. Because everyone's going to stop and say, oh, can I help you? And there's something that really was endearing to me when I was on the ride, because it's a ride and not a race. And the last person who comes in every day, we have some, I call them the outriders. They're the people on the motorcycles that station themselves at every difficult area along the ride. And as the last rider of the day, who obviously is not having a particularly good day.
Yeah.
The motorcyclists pull in behind them. And so that person for that day, who's had the roughest day, gets a motorcycle escort into camp.
Yeah, that's great.
And they call it into camp when they're about a quarter mile out, saying the last rider is approaching. And everyone jumps up from their tables and they rush out to greet the last person, because there's a sense of we aren't home and we aren't safe until all of us are home.
Everybody's there. Is there a particular kind of bicycle that you use for this? Is there a standard that has to be met?
No, actually, you know, the only thing that we tell you is that your bike needs to be in good mechanical condition. But, you know, people ride road bikes, they ride mountain bikes, recumbents, all kinds of bikes. And the most important thing is that your bike is comfortable, it's fitted to you, it's in good mechanical condition, and you know, you can ride steadily on it. So
what's been the most unusual bike you've seen?
These special bicycles that were like too tall. They were like,
I
I will say that was the most outrageous bicycles that I've seen on the road.
We had people on these tall bikes, literally like taller than me.
Okay.
Yeah, those were pretty unusual.
Like two like unicycles put together or something like.
I don't know how they made those.
I don't know. I think they were just welded, like, but it was the double of the size of a bicycle, so it was almost like a circus person riding a bicycle, because
but we also, you know, there's a gentleman that rides a recumbent tricycle. There's also a gentleman who did the ride for several years, who had lost his legs in a motorcycle accident. He had a special bike that he was powering with his arms.
Wow, that's pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty inspiring to see that.
Well, so it's really basically open to everybody. Whatever bike you have, you know, if it's a good working condition. Certainly people do probably get injured. What are like some of the common injuries that might occur in this?
Some scrapes and bruises. You know, occasionally somebody might have trouble clipping out of their pedal if they're not used to it. But overall, it's a very safe event, and that's something that we really pound into people. We require people to ride single file.
Yeah.
We require everybody to really call out their intentions when they're passing or doing something unexpected. We call out when we see potential hazards on the road, so that the cyclist behind us, you know, doesn't get injured. So it's just like Dave was saying. This is another way that we're taking care of one another, and that also, you know, really helps bond the community. That, you know, we're not safe unless everybody is safe, and we want everybody to make it to LA safe.
I mean, we had one fellow who came as a roadie, as a bike tech, and thought he was going to be on the Tour de France helping people who had $5,000 to $6,000 bikes, and this young girl walked up to him with a Huffy. And he said, "What the heck are you doing on this bike?"
That is so cool, though.
Yeah.
Well,
that is just so awesomely cool.
She said to him, "My father, who died of AIDS, gave me this bike. Please get me to LA."
All right, well, hold that thought. We're going to look at some more footage from the AIDS life cycle, and we'll be back to talk about it. So check out this.
Don't hold it all inside.
Are the roadies who are moving those tables. You know, I'm sitting there eating my breakfast. It's 7:30 in the morning. There are people moving tables and chairs. 7:30 in the morning, working harder than I've ever worked at 7:30 in the morning. They're doing it for no pay. It's selfless. They've taken a week off of work to do this, and that is what amazes me. And we couldn't do it without them. If we had to hire the labor to do the kind of work that they do, we just couldn't do the run. And they're just amazing, selfless, dedicated people. And, you know, whether it's they're doing it to have fun, or they're doing it to interact with the riders, or they're doing it because one of their loved ones is riding, they're doing it because they have hearts that say, I want to do something of service, and they work hard. They're not afraid of it.
See, I'm telling you, the more you watch, the more fun it looks, the more you better be there. These are the people to talk to, and they're going to tell you another aspect of this, and that is the aspect of the positive peddler. And what is the positive peddler?
Well, positive peddler is actually a group of men and women who are battling with HIV/AIDS, and we came together as a group to show that we, as a number, as a group, we are still combating or eliminating stigma through our public example, and which best way to do it with AIDS LifeCycle. AIDS LifeCycle opened us the door to be part of a group, visible. So PostPets is just a group, as we said, of HIV people, and that we participate in the event. And it's just a great way that we have found a strength in numbers, but also showing that it still is a problem. AIDS is still a problem.
Well, yeah.
They also, many of them choose to have these orange flags on their bicycles, identifying themselves as positive peddlers, which serves two great purposes. The first is, for many people on the ride, these are the first people they've ever met, not putting a face to the disease.
And that's so important.
And so suddenly it's not just a statistic, it's my friend that I met on the ride who's battling AIDS. The other thing is that for many, there still is tremendous stigma in the world today. And for many of the positive peddlers, it's such a safe space on the ride. And they come on the ride, and many of them affix that flag with great trepidation because they're in the closet about being HIV positive in much of their lives. And they come on the ride and they just blossom.
Right.
And so it's just a really transformative experience for everyone. Those are both positive and negative.
Right. It's like we're in this together.
Absolutely.
We're going to do
Exactly.
it. So what kind of, are there any special preparations that are made for the positive?
Yeah, actually, we have a great deal of support. First of all, we as trainers and as people who have done the ride, we support our new newbies who come into the ride. But also, as we said before, there are red stops along the roads every day, and we have medical teams, and we have people who are supporting us through all the way.
Right.
You know, so we are always getting special attention, you know, like being hydrated, eating well, taking our medications as we should. And of course, we take the trainings very seriously because that's the only way to get safe. And nobody is forced to ride those miles. If you have a bike day and you can't ride, you're not forced to. So you can always take, you know, the back seat of a car and get transported to camp. So it's still but it's your presence there that it really is important there. But yes, we are very well supported medically, and we have all the amenities that we need.
Yeah. So let's talk about the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. You're the benefactor of this. What do you do?
We want to reduce and eventually eliminate HIV infections. And currently in the city of San Francisco, for example, we can predict that there'll be somewhere between 975 and 1,000 new infections a year. That's way down from what it used to be, thanks to many of the of our efforts that that we've implemented over the years, because the foundation really was and remains at ground zero of this epidemic in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
But in San Francisco now, it's no longer an epidemic, it's an endemic of sort of, we can predict exactly how many are going to be infected every year, and that's not right. We need to just eliminate those.
Right.
And so our job is to first identify the challenges that face us, come up with new and innovative strategies to meet them so that they can become a model that can be exported throughout the country and in many ways throughout the world.
Yeah.
An example would be, for example, in San Francisco, about 90% of the new HIV infections are among gay men, especially African Americans and those who use methamphetamines. And so we have new outreaches that no one else anywhere really has to reach out to these people and focus them on wellness. And the CDC, for example, one group called Black Brothers Esteem, which builds community and leadership skills among African American men in the Tenderloin area of San Francisco who face some of the greatest challenges anywhere. They've become leaders in their community. And the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control here in the United States, visited the foundation in February saying this looks to be a national model. And so we see our job, ultimately, yes, we want to eliminate these new infections. We start in San Francisco. We create something new that we're going to demonstrate with research is effective, that then we can hold up to the rest of the world and say, this is how it can be done.
And do you ever find that there are certain political factions and stumble blocks that you really have to fight to get your message across?
Always. I mean, one key one would be, for example, our needle exchange program, where we exchange about 2.3
needle exchange. It's like
exactly. But the research is very clear that it's in San Francisco, less than 1% of new infections is due to the use of needles. But if you go to our nation's capital, for example, where because of ideological reasons they prohibited funds for needle exchange,
and there's absolutely no evidence that it encourages drug use.
Well, I know it's one of those no-brainers.
Yeah.
the way I look at it.
But because they won't allow it, this isn't the only reason, but in our nation's capital, it has an HIV prevalence of 5% of the population currently is living with HIV. And so you look at San Francisco, which is the epicenter, where that's not true. In fact, we have virtually no instance of it being transmitted. And then in our nation's capital, it's out of control. And so once again, we stand as a model. And in some ways, we shame people into finally setting aside their ideology and respecting research and saying we have to do the right thing to save lives.
I mean, you have to do it. That's just the way that some things get done.
And frankly, this is why people come back and ride with us every year. Because they see us doing those kinds of things,
you're doing the
and
work.
they want to make sure it continues.
Well, you're standing up for what you believe in, and someone has to do that. So we have only about 45 seconds, so real quickly, what's been your most memorable experience in these years?
I would say my most memorable experience recently was we started doing a candlelight vigil on our final night where we camp in Ventura. And for me, seeing 3,000 people walking silently out to the beach and either speaking the names of their loved ones or mourning in silence, but you know, incredibly moving to feel that much emotion and that much passion.
Okay, real quickly.
AIDS LifeCycle and the AIDS Foundation have helped me believe in people again, and I just feel a constant sense of gratitude, and that's its gift to me.
Gabriel?
And for me, just a sense of community that it creates. It's just this extended family that I never dreamed to have.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming on the show. Audience, you better get involved. You know, like I said before, an ACT UP said it right. Silence is death. So get off your duff. Get ready. Give money.
He
get
says,
a bike.
1875, cyclist 1875.
That's right. So see, you already got a connection here. So you know what to do. Do it. And to our viewing audience, as always, if you're walking down the street and you see something interesting and you wonder to yourself, hey, what's up with that? Well, you tune into our show, What's Up With That, and maybe you'll find exactly what you're looking for. We'll see you next week on What's Up With That. Good night, everybody.
Alone and together, you have demonstrated what is best in humanity. By your sheer determination, your strength, and your courage, you have demonstrated to the world what is possible when a wonderfully diverse group of dedicated individuals believes in themselves and believes in one another.